Our dear colleagues, good afternoon. Our dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to speak on some very important issues. It may be good news to some people and bad news to others, but for us, it's very, very important that we address you today. I'm happy to welcome you all, and I will start from the legal luminary, a public speaker, an orator, Mr. Daniel Boala. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Gentlemen of the press. We request your attention today to bring to light a few things that are of concern to us, the polity and the national security interests of Nigeria. In the last few weeks, the nation is greeted by so many reports on the social media and the mainstream media, which raises concern on the character and fitness of the candidate running for the post of presidency of the All Progressives Congress. You will recall that some years ago, the former managing director of Alpha Beta lodged a petition at the EFCC against the former governor of Lagos State and now a presidential candidate of APC, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. The petition involves massive corruption and misappropriation of funds belonging to the government of Lagos State, abuse of official office, conflict of interest. The petition, as you will all know, is with EFCC, and presumably after some years now, there is every assumption that the EFCC ought to have concluded the investigation on that case. And that's why we're calling on this meeting to request that the EFCC should address Nigeria on the outcome of that investigation. You would also recall that most recently, information circulated in the media space about a drug conviction on the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu by a court in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States of America, which led to him forfeiting over $400,000, like a conviction, and then he paid for the sentence on that conviction. We also know that today in Nigeria, opioid and most of this drug-related addiction has or is creating a national security threat to Nigeria. NDLEA is an example, and you saw also most recently NDLEA intercepted large volumes of cocaine. Till date, we know that they arraigned 1 or 2 persons, but they have not been able to address Nigeria on their investigation on that. How many people are involved, who is linked to it, and on this occasion we're calling on the NDLEA to address Nigeria as to the outcome of their investigation about the intercepted drug. You know also, because we raised that recently, that the candidate of All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his people created a militia. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria we're seeing a political party creating a militant arm leading to election. And it is also predictable, because it was shortly after his speech in London when he advised that his people should grab by all means necessary the process leading to election that they created this militia. Shortly after that, we have seen violence in Nigeria in different states, in different rallies, even in homes and in the streets. And we are calling on the law enforcement, especially the security and intelligence platforms of this country, to look into that, investigate, and if necessary, arrest anybody that is involved in the creation of a militia. We are also calling on the international community. We already know that a number of election observers, international, are in the country, the international community and the federal government, to look into this, because this is a threat to the peaceful conduct of election. You would also notice, gentlemen of the press, that recently a serving minister of APC has written a letter to the agencies of government. And these agencies of government, if you look at our constitution, are members of the executive branch of government. In other words, he wrote a letter to members of the same branch to which he belonged. and demanded that within 72 hours they should prosecute a candidate running for presidency in Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. In the press conference, they bragged about their powers and control of the law enforcement. In fact, he, while serving as a cabinet member and campaign spokesman, remember, as a cabinet member is being paid by the taxpayers' money, is using the official privilege and the powers conferred on that office to intimidate agencies of government, including going to court and filing a case against the agent of the same branch of government to which he belongs. And this is happening at a time when the president told the world that he's going to deliver a legacy of free and fair election. In fact, recently, he was reported to have ordered that cabinet members should focus on governance so that those who are in politics should focus on politics. So now it's raising concern. People are beginning to wonder whether it is the president who is, by proxy, using this cabinet member to infiltrate or influence or intimidate the agency of government. And I think that we are calling on the president in order, because we believe that he's committed to delivering a fair process, to immediately sack the Minister of State for Labor and Employment for abusing the office that he has, because that office is being paid for by taxpayers' money. And you cannot create confusion in that cabinet. There is also this threat to life, and I can tell you that because I myself have received threats from Asiwaju and his camp, and this is evident, is everywhere I've reported to law enforcement. A lot of people have been threatened. I am not surprised because a militia has been created, and I'm calling on the government to look into that. So finally, gentlemen of the press, there are many other wide range of issues that will come in the coming days, but this is just the introduction of what I have to say. I will yield the floor to our next speaker, who will in detail speak about the reason why we're here today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel Bwala. What he has just told you is that this is part one of our press conferences. We're going to have series of press conferences in the coming days and weeks, because Nigerians must know the character of their candidates. So I will now give the microphone to my friend, my brother, Mr. Frank Shuaibu. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Dele Momodu. Welcome, gentlemen of the press, esteemed professional colleagues. My name is Frank Shuaibu, and I want to address Nigerians today on behalf of my esteemed colleagues. That first off, we are currently at a crossroads, and the wrong decision, any wrong decision we take, will spell doom for this great nation, and that will be forever. Nigeria is battling many problems at the moment. We have banditry and terrorism ravaging many towns in the north, militants attacking oil facilities and bringing the country's economy to its knees in the Niger Delta, while secessionists are holding the southeast to ransom. It will be a huge disaster to add state-sponsored drug trafficking into the mix. It is no longer news that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the APC, has direct ties to drug lords and was used as a conduit pipe to launder their funds. Court records show that Nigeria's drug kingpin Adeboyega Muiz Akonde ran an elaborate network of heroin traffickers in Chicago in the 1980s. This investigation has revealed the identity of other individuals, including relatives who have worked for Akonde, with various duties in the distribution organization. One of these individuals has been identified by the investigation as Bola Tinubu. Kevin Moss, a special agent with the Inland Revenue Service, reflected clearly in the court records that Akonde took Tinubu to First Heritage Bank, where he opened an account for himself and his wife, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, in 1989. Tinubu revealed in documents that he worked with Mobile Nigeria Limited and his salary was $2,400. and he had no other sources of income whatsoever. But records from his First Heritage Bank account show that in 1990, Tinubu deposited $661,000 into his individual money market account. And in 1991, he deposited $1,216,500 into the same account, that's the money market account. But Tinubu, the political Maradona, quickly entered into an agreement with U.S. authorities and forfeited $460,000 in order to avoid jail before running back to Nigeria. This is not a story that is unknown to you. But this has not changed the fact that he has been in cahoots with drug traffickers and drug dealers across the globe. And in the next few minutes, I will let you know how this came by, particularly as it relates to his personal company, the Alpha Beta Consulting. Alpha Beta Consulting, you know, is a company based on affidavits deposed to by the former managing director, Dapo Akpara. Tinubu continued to corner the finances of the state through his firm in the writ of summons marked LD 7330GCMW 2020. Akpara narrated how Alpha Beta was formed in 2002 when Tinubu was still the governor of Lagos State, in breach of the Code of Conduct for Public Officers. He said Tinubu accepted the proposal he made to him, but gave many conditions, including that his own people would own 70% stakes in the company. And some of these persons, including the former governor of Osun State, Adegboyega Oyetola, and one Olumide Okumola, who has 70% of shares in Alpha Beta. The records are there. Akpara stated that Tinubu was a sitting governor in 2022 and controlled Alpha Beta, which was receiving 10% of tax collected on behalf of the state. He went further to state that Tinubu directed the incorporation structure of Alpha Beta Consulting Limited be changed from a limited liability company to a limited liability partnership under a new promulgated law in Lagos State. Of course, he fronted that law. And why he did that was simple: to hide his identity. He needed to hide his identity as the man behind Alpha Beta Consulting. And that was why he took that step. And he got his pliable tools, who are the former governors of Lagos State, former and present governors of Lagos State, who are mere errand boys in his hands to do that bidding for him. Well, Akpara went further to tell us that as head of the company, he began looking into the accounts and its finances and made startling discoveries, such as mysterious transfers of billions of naira, including a payment of 1 billion naira to Vintage Press Limited, publishers of the Nation newspaper. The former MD of Alpha Beta said he realized that all the payments were sanctioned by the partners nominated by Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But you see, of all these transactions, there are so many other transactions that are contained in the text and copy of the press statement that we shared with you. But the one that will shock you today is the transaction made to Summit Integrated Services Limited. Curiously, on the 18th of March 2015, we're talking of a man who was convicted and who forfeited $460,000 to the American government because of a case involving or related to drug or heroin trafficking. But as of 2015, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was still involved with drug traffickers. Yes, the records are clear. And I put it to him and his agents, his goons, that particularly from the documents provided by Akpara, the former MD of Alpha Beta Consulting, Tinubu's company, Alpha Beta, transferred the sum of $4,396,063 to a company known as Summit Integrated Services Limited. Summit Integrated Services Limited, please, can you show us? Summit Integrated Services Limited is a briefcase company created through a company creation service called Quality Company Formations. in the United Kingdom. It is owned by one Epaquio Joseph Gonzalez Oliveros, and he has all his children as directors in that company. This man is resident in Barranquilla, in Colombia. And our investigation shows that the net worth of his company as at 2015 was not more than $50,000. So what is Bola Ahmed Tinubu's company Alpha Beta Consulting transferring for over $4 million to that company in 2015? This is the question, the big question Nigerians are asking. For a man who wants to be president of our country, what is the transaction about? What was he paying for? Please, let us not forget too that Barranquilla in Colombia, please, you are as professional journalists, and for those of us watching us live from their respective homes, Barranquilla in Colombia is known for one thing. They have one of the biggest seaports that is notorious for the trafficking and export of drugs and heroin in the world. You can run a check on that. And that is why some of us are not even surprised when he goes to campaign rallies and he talks about bala blue, and bala blah. That possibly is a language in Barranquilla in Colombia. Ladies and gentlemen, Tinubu's inexplicable wealth is not new to Nigerians. In an interview with a news magazine 10 years ago, he said he returned to Nigeria after the June 12th with nothing. They dispossessed me, in quotes, I'm quoting Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said they dispossessed me of the house as well as my office on Saka Tinubu Street, my vehicles and everything else I owned. They claimed they found bombs in it and dispossessed me of it. It was totally cleaned out. I had only 5 shirts, 2,000 pounds, and jackets. Today, Tinubu claims to be richer than Osun State. In a viral video, which is still available online, when Tinubu paid a courtesy visit to the Atauda of Osogbo, Obajimo Olanipekun, where he boasted that he was richer than Osun State. He told the gathering ahead of the 2018 election in Osun State that Osun does not have his kind of money. His aides immediately issued a statement saying he was quoted out of context. But ladies and gentlemen, Tinubu afterwards went on to restate, particularly on February 14, 2019, publicly, while addressing party faithful, that he was richer than Osun State. How much is your money that I will embezzle? You can't match my pockets. I told them so, and their traditional rulers were seated. On the eve of the presidential elections in Lagos, 2 cash-laden bullion vans were seen on the premises located at 26 Bodilon Street, Ikoyi, which was ostensibly for vote buying. When journalists asked him, you remember vividly, my dear colleagues, about the bullion vans, Tinubu responded by saying that it was his money and he was free to spend it whichever way he liked. Even if I have money to spend in my premises, what is your headache? He was quoted as saying. A group of forthright activists, including our dear brother, may so rest in peace, Ariel Dare Atoye, and Deji Adeyanju, wrote a petition to the EFCC on October 25, 2019, calling for investigation and prosecution of Tinubu for breaching the Money Laundering Act after publicly admitting to sharing millions of naira on the eve of the elections. In fairness to the EFCC, its current chairman, Abdul Rashid Bawa, while he was head of the Lagos office of the EFCC, wrote a letter to the Code of Conduct Bureau. In that letter dated November 6, 2020, Bawa requested Tinubu's asset declaration forms. However, the Guardian newspaper reported that the Code of Conduct Bureau said it had misplaced the forms. Well, since Tinubu emerged as presidential candidate of the APC, the EFCC has kept more on the issue, while Ario, who wrote the petition, has unfortunately died. But we call on the same EFCC to provide an update on this matter. Because even though our dear brother Ario is gone, the petition is alive, Nigerians are still alive, the bullion vans we recorded, answers have not been given to those questions that were raised. Ladies and gentlemen, Tinubu had in 2011 been charged before the same Code of Conduct Tribunal over allegations that he illegally operated 10 foreign accounts during his term in office as Lagos State Governor between 1999 and 2007, but was discharged based on technicality. Danladi Umar, if you remember vividly, the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal admitted on March 24, 2016, in the case between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Bukola Saraki, that he discharged Tinubu in error. On the discharge of the former Lagos State Governor, I quote, by the tribunal some years ago, simply because the Code of Conduct Bureau failed to fulfill the condition precedent. We have since realized we acted in error in discharging Mr. Tinubu on that ground, and we have since departed from that error, Umar said. It is therefore important for both the Code of Conduct Bureau and the EFCC to revisit the case, since Tinubu is still alive and he was never acquitted. He was only discharged. Apart from the links to drug lords, Tinubu has also cornered the finances of Lagos State through several means, including land grabbing. In fact, there is a man who could appropriate even cemeteries and burial grounds to himself and his family. The records are there. The current land where his television station is located on Alade Lola Street in Kosiketu, was owned by the Lagos State Polytechnic until the students of that polytechnic were forcefully ejected and relocated to Ikorodu. He appropriated that land. Nigerians are aware, but Lagosians know better. His current home in Asokoro, Abuja, was owned by the Lagos State government, but on the eve of his departure as governor, Tinubu signed an obnoxious law that will ensure that he and his family will continue to feed fat on the finances of the state. Now here is a man who is both an offshore and onshore criminal, convicted offshore, standing trial onshore, then calling another man a criminal. It is horrendous. And I wish to say it clearly here, that particular obnoxious law, signed into law by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, known as the Public Office Holder Law, Payment of Pensions, number 11 Official Gazette of Lagos State in 2007, says that a former governor will be given a house in Abuja and Lagos and 6 brand new cars every 3 years. 100% of his basic salary of the serving governor, which is about 7.7 million naira per annum, free healthcare for himself and members of his family. The law also says the former governor will be entitled to furniture allowance, which is 300% of their annual basic salary. That's about 23 million naira, 23.3 million naira. House maintenance and many others. But you know what he did? Like the Maradona and the criminal that he is. Ahead of this presidential campaign, Tinubu asked his man Friday, his ever pliable, do-nothing governor friend, boy, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to repeal the law in order to endear him to Nigerians. But this is yet to come into effect. We are aware, and Nigerians are aware. Tinubu has continued to brag about how he addressed the ecological problem at the Bar Beach into an avenue for prosperity through the Eco-Atlantic City. But it has since been revealed that he owns a sizable amount of property at the Eco-Atlantic City. A published report by the Punch newspapers on November 1st, 2020, where a prince in Oniru, Hakeem Ajasa, who is a member of the Abishogun ruling class, said in a pre-litigation letter to Tinubu and Sanwo-Olu that Tinubu's former ADC, Omobola Olawa, was made the Oniru of Iruland in order to protect his business interests. This letter is dated October 27, 2020. Ajasa claimed in that letter that he had been selected as the next Oniru, but Tinubu called him to a meeting and informed him that he would have to give up his ambition because his business partners were not happy with his emergence. Well, further details are contained in the text of the statement. From there, I will just take a look at his super wealthy children. As the saying goes, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Tinubu's daughter, Folashade Ojo, imposes levies on traders in Lagos State against extant laws and provisions. At the computer village, please ask our Igbo brothers and sisters who sell phones at the computer village in Lagos. They'll tell you what I'm talking about. At the computer village in Lagos, the traders stated that it was the levies being imposed on them that was contributing to the high cost of computers, telephones, and electronics. Frustrated by this development, the traders eventually approached the Lagos High Court for help. In her judgment, Justice Yetunde barred Folashade and others from imposing levies on traders at the computer village in Lagos. Interestingly, agents of Folashade, who is also the Yamaja General of Lagos State, have headed for the Court of Appeal to overturn this judgment because they want to continue to appropriate the finances of Lagos State like their father does through Alpha Beta Consulting. His son Sheyi owns Lotsad Promo Media, the young firm that owns most of the outdoor advertising on the lucrative Victoria Island corridor. Recall that it was this firm that turned out the lights on the Lekki Toll Plaza on the day of the NSAS shootings. Interestingly, advertising agencies have complained bitterly about our advertising practitioners of Nigeria, and Lagos State Signage and Advertising Agency (LASA) have continued to give undue advantage to Tinubu's son's advertising agency. According to a report by Daily Independent dated June 13, 2019, this is what they want to replicate at the federal level in the unfortunate event that they win next month's election. God forbid, bad thing. Tinubu's adopted son, Musiliu Akinson, aka MC Olomo, the transport union kingpin, operates like a mafia boss, extorting money from transporters running into billions monthly. A 2021 report by the International Center for Investigative Reporting stated that commercial drivers pay an average of 225 million naira daily in Lagos, or 82.125 billion naira per year, which is about 190 million US dollars. This has contributed to an increase in the cost of goods and services in Lagos. You can imagine when, God forbid, such a person becomes president of Nigeria. You will know what it is to be in Nigeria. Finally, in a bid to shield his shady lifestyle from public scrutiny, the so-called godfather of Lagos politics has continued to evade debates. He will possibly avoid future gatherings where he would have to speak extemporaneously to a crowd that is not pre-selected for his benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, this man wants to be given a job without an interview, and that is not possible. You cannot get an employment without an interview. He needs to be interviewed by Nigerians. He wants to be president of Nigeria, yet he does not want to subject himself to an interview. Nigerians will not accept that, and that is why we have continued to say that he must subject himself to interrogation. Tinubu's life, primary and secondary school records, family lineage, and even work records remain fraudulent. Today he is planning on becoming Nigeria's president. Imagine such a man having the keys to Nigeria's treasury and having full control of the NDLA and the EFCC, the Nigerian army and the Nigerian police. This will be the worst scandal in the history of mankind. The effect will be far worse than the kleptocracy of former military administrations, where billions of dollars were stolen. More importantly, Nigeria cannot have a Pablo Escobar as president. For the avoidance of doubt, Waziri Atiku Abubakar is the most investigated former vice president in the history of Nigeria. He has been probed both locally and internationally, but no death has been pinned on him. He also has not been charged for any crime locally or internationally. Even during the last presidential election, the APC made efforts to ensure that Atiku could not travel to the United States of America, but this failed. Curiously, Tinubu himself has not traveled to the United States, even when he was invited by the Department of State Services. One wonders what he is afraid of. But your guess is as good as mine. Tinubu does not enjoy immunity. We hereby call on the EFCC, the NDLA, the Nigerian Police, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Department of State Services to arrest and prosecute him. And we call call on Tinubu the con man. When I mean con man, I'm talking of the Agbado man. But you can infer whatever you want to infer. But I'm talking of the con man, as in C-O-R-N. Tinubu the con man, to drop his presidential ambition for the sake of Nigeria. And the truth is, each time I look at Baranquilla, please can you show me the map of Baranquilla? Each time I look at the map of Baranquilla, I weep for Nigeria and I get scared for Nigeria. And please, after this live and world press conference, when you leave here, do not bother your brain again to look for the meaning of bala blue and bula blah. It originated from Baranquilla, and it is a language for drug traffickers and heroin pushers. God bless you.
Thank you, Frank. So we will take a few questions, and I think Mr. Oseanene would take us through that. Thank you, Ose.
So thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, all you just heard will be given to you. We have a press kit. So most of the questions you might have will be in the press kit. But if you have any questions, can just indicate out. I'll bring my teams.
The questions, tell us, the questions should be limited to this briefing.
Please, the questions on the related to the briefing, but I cannot play our time under the extent I want to clarification. This is the data we can share with you. It appears your press release was very clearly received. So with that, I'll just hand the mic again over to Fidel Momodu so you can bring this event to
close. Okay. Obviously, so yeah, it's working. Obviously, no questions. Okay, so that should be it.
In case,
Oh, do you want to
say something? Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Speak into the microphone.
Good afternoon. Hello. Can you hear me? My name is Emperor Simon. I'm here representing channels. So the briefing is quite explanatory, as you have said, and we want to get a copy of the briefing. But I'd like to ask, because Mr. Frank, at the end of his speech, did mention that the PDP presidential candidate is a man without dented character or personality. But we know that the APC currently, particularly Mr. Keyamo, has dragged your presidential candidate to the court in respect of an allegation by one Michael Tinubu that while he was the vice presidential candidate, he used what he called SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle, to siphon some money. And Keyamo has decided to take the case to court. I want to know what is your response or reaction to that allegation and to the case that is currently in court. Thank you.
Well, I would speak, and then we have a lawyer in the house, Mr. Boala, who, of course, will be able to address. My response is that we cannot respond to a case that is in court, if it is in court. Okay? So our lawyers will deal with that. We are here to say that if you must ask for equity, you must come with clean hands. Mr. Festus Keyamo, who happens to be in the APC government, is using the privilege of being in government and also using his own chambers, which should be a conflict of interest, to terrorize a candidate they are afraid of. So they are trying to distract our attention by saying this and that. So he says he has gone to court. Of course, we've told you that this is only part one of what we intend to do. Our advice all along to the Tinubu camp is that each time you allow or you let loose your attack dog on our candidate, we would respond in kind. So what we are doing today is very simple, that Mr. Keyamo cannot intimidate anybody. There are much bigger cases already known to different agencies in Nigeria, and nothing has happened to it. So anyone who has a sense of shame will know that you cannot do that. That's what I will say for now. So I would...
And in addition to what Ari said, we maintain the position that Mr. Frank Shaibu said our candidate has not been tainted, because the law is until your case is established. And we do not want to go into the details, but like Ari said, conflict of interest. Somebody who is serving as a minister is being paid by taxpayers' money, using his own chambers, prosecuting a case by proxy. He knows the wider implication in terms of the law, and he also knows that his attempt to blackmail the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria may also have a wider implication. And as a lawyer and a senior advocate, he knows the decision of court that you can never force, the court cannot force a public officer from performing their duties. He knows that, but he knows what he wants to achieve with it. And we don't want to comment on the details of the case. Our lawyers are studying it. Important also to draw your attention to the fact that there is in existence a case like that. So we, by our practice of law, is that if there is a case in the court, you are not expected to bring another case another case. You just join the matter and state your case. Otherwise, it will be seen as abuse of court process. But these are issues also that our lawyers will argue in the court of law. But he knows what he wants to achieve. Whatever he wants to achieve, he has failed. He is only embarrassing the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, because he's telling the world that you can be on taxpayers' money, use the privileges of your position, and intimidate another agency. You know that EFCC is an institution of the executive branch. You know that Code of Conduct is also an institution of the executive branch. And the president is the president of that branch. He's a member of the cabinet of that branch. They also brag about the fact that they can use law enforcement against individuals. The world is watching. And then as the days go by, we'll see how things pan out.
Yeah, thank you very much. Interestingly, my immediate reaction to that question is the fact that Nigerians are aware that the candidate that these persons represent, we don't even know Nigerians don't even know his name. A typical Yoruba nation, in the typical Yoruba nation, I'm sure Nigerians are watching, the Yoruba people are watching. The name Bola comes with a prefix or a suffix. It is either it's Bolanle, Bola Joko, Abimbola, or Bola Lokon. But this Bola has been Bola. You understand me? We don't know which of the Bolas. So this is a man whose name is a subject of controversy. A man whose education, both primary and secondary, is a subject of controversy. A man whose university education is subject of controversy. A man who is involved in drug trafficking. And that's why I keep wondering. Some persons, you say, even among thieves, there should be honor. There should be honors among robbers. This one has no honor. And his team of jesters keep bringing him into the public space to receive, you see, ordinarily, to receive barrage of attacks. Ordinarily, this is not our style. We're not cut out this way. We modeled our campaign, and that's why most times you hear people say, oh, Atiku's campaign has been quiet in 2023. It's not quiet, we're working. It's a matter of strategy. But this time around, we have made up our mind to say, look, We will not be as combative as they are. We will not back. And that is why you see that the lioness is a better hunter compared to the lion. So those who come to all press conferences and back, shout, insult, abuse, denigrate, we know where they will end up. And like Barrister Daniel Bola said, it's taking you through the nitty-gritty. This man, they question the media, the Nigerian populace and the media should continue to ask is, if I had a simple question, please, what is your real name? You want to be president of Nigeria, tell us your real name. His name cannot be Bola, he's a Yoruba man. Chief Bola Ike, of blessed memory, was Ajibola. But Nigerians knew him as Bola. But each time in official correspondences, he makes sure that he writes his full name Ajibola. This one, even if it's Bola Loco, no problem. We will accept Bola Loco, but please tell us what your real name is.
Good afternoon, everyone. We must first see what, in direct answer to your question, we must see what Mr. Festus Keyamo is doing for what it is. It is political big brother. It is designed to distract Nigerians from the pressing issues. You are telling people that are surviving in an almost 1 year long fuel scarcity about these lies and these fabrications. If Festus Keyamo, as Minister of Labour, should be holding a press conference to explain to Nigerians why we have 33% unemployment. He should be explaining to Nigerians why we have 52% youth unemployment. Those are within the remit of his job. The NDS has not given us unemployment figures for the last 2 years. Festus Keyamo should be telling us why, rather than inundating us with these sorts of stories that, like Barrister Daniel Bola has said, are potentially an abuse of court process. There is only one candidate in this election that a court anywhere in the world has put out an order indicting that candidate for the participation in criminal activities. That candidate is the candidate that Festus Keyamo represents as spokesperson. Festus Keyamo should be speaking to the Nigerian people and saying, why are you asking us to vote for a criminal? That's what he should be speaking about. He shouldn't come out with this salacious lies designed to distract Nigerians from their pain and their suffering. Thank you very much.
So on that note, we bring the live conference to a close. Thank you so much for coming, and see you very soon.